Us. We're excited to be here to talk about Automox's predictions for 2024 and give you some guidance through what our crystal balls sort of see for us coming into the next year. Just to get through a little bit of housekeeping, I'll walk you through the agenda. We're going to introduce ourselves, walk through the predictions that we've collected from our experts inside of Automox, and explain really what we mean by these quotes that we've surfaced through. And then give you some examples on how you can advance your strategic approach. Give you some demos of our two product features and what Automox can do for you in 2024. And then answer some common questions that we get from a lot of you and see what y'all submit to us here. So for myself, I'm David Van Heerden. I'm the product evangelist for Automox. That's a new title that I've adopted. It's a pretty odd one, I will admit. I've been in IT for 10 years. I was the IT operations manager for Automox for 2. But through my background, I've spent quite a bit of time in a lot of different industries and experienced a lot of things in IT and tech. So I'm very excited to be at Automox, where we are invested in IT teams and IT people. So I'm happy to help however I can. Jack, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thanks, David. Hey, my name is Jack Miller. I'm a senior software engineer here at Automox. I've been here for about 2 years and about 10 years deep in my career almost. And I've worked with a lot of different spaces, including e-com and student information systems and things like that, and now IT ops. And I've worked on quite a few things here. Like one of my most recent deliveries was Auto AI, which I'm really excited about, and we're going to be showing you a little bit of that later. I'll pass it over to Landon.
Yeah, my name is Landon Miles, and I am the technical marketing manager here at Automox. What I do is kind of take the technical solutions that we have and make sure that our customers know about those and understand that the problems that they're facing, and making sure that they know how to solve the problems with our solutions. And been doing that in my career for about 10 years also, in fairly new to Automox, but been doing technical marketing for about 10 years now.
Yeah, so in summary, we're a nerdy and passionate bunch. Diving into it,
Couldn't have said it better. So.
we sort of put this wheel here and just really summarizing the kind of predictions that we have, and we'll dive into the quotes behind a lot of these. But to sort of help you digest it, we've sort of broken it up into 3 categories in this wheel. We see it as overall technology alignment within the business. And then, of course, there's the advent of AI and how we think that's going to continue to evolve in 2024. And then there's still the much needed attention and focus on automation and integration that we're going to need to be working on in the next year. It's something that's been important for a while, and it's going to continue to stay important, is our general feel. So let's get into that first category of alignment. So I'll stay on this slide for a minute to let y'all read through these quotes, look up those links, and read our blog and kind of follow along. But just to really summarize the whole bit, IT is not going to be a siloed function within the business anymore. We have a lot of people in the workforce that have adapted and learned a lot of new skills, and lots of people entering the workforce that have grown up and embraced technology as a part of their lives. So it's no longer this black box where the wizards do their magic. It's a part of everyone's daily lives. So yeah, it's no longer siloed anymore. And we'll get into one of the quotes of that greater immersion from the State of the CIO article, where we have some topics to break that down and what that really means. But I would like to open it up to Landon and Jack here to kind of discuss Mike Bowman's quote about sustainability and how that's going to affect things in next year. Any thoughts?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that sustainability is it's really key to everything that we're doing. I mean, even as a society, kind of pushing forward to more sustainable resources. So, I mean, whether it's sustainably developed software or sustainably developed software that's for sustainable energy or these other sustainable methods, I mean, I think that's key to kind of advancing where we are as a society. I mean, if we can do these things and save energy and use different renewable energy sources to do them, I think that's that's great. And I think kind of efficiency is key there. I mean, it's if it comes down to kind of the smaller decisions, like the more efficient our software is, the less power it's using, and then kind of over an overarching thing. I mean, that's
Yeah.
just using less to do more. So
I love that you landed on that word, because I think that summarizes it perfectly, is efficiency. I mean, that's what we've seen in hardware releases: better battery life, more
yeah,
efficient processors. You know, we're moving away from high performance cores and packing in a lot more efficiency cores in our devices. And I love Mike's perspective and angle on this. Is, yeah, he's right. We need efficiency across how we operate within our businesses. We need efficiency in how we, like you said, build code, right? And that is going to drive a lot of that innovation and a lot of pressure on IT teams to find ways to be more efficient, which in the broader sense is, yeah, treating, taking care of the planet that we live on, right?
yeah,
Overall. Yeah, and of course, you know, I have my own shameless plug here of my quote, where, yeah, I am of the opinion that there are technology people, and through our experience in supporting the business, we end up learning quite a bit about how a lot of these other business functions operate and work. For example, I supported a media team for quite some time, and as I was working with them on a lot of projects, I learned about their workflows. I learned about, you know, what mattered to them and how they needed to solve their creative problems. And adored working with the creative types. And so, you know, I would imagine that if that team had an IT person that absolutely loved media and loved creating that kind of art, they would be a far more efficient team if they had that kind of technical resource that was embedded in that team, that was a part of that team, that knew how to leverage technology well. So I predict that in 2024, businesses haven't figured it out already, they will, that technology people don't stay in that silo. They don't stay in the black box behind the curtain. You got to move them out into the different parts of the business where they can bring technology into a more effective place.
yeah. I mean, I agree with that too. I think technology is its most effective when it helps people, and
Yeah.
when people utilize it. And so if people don't understand something, they're not going to utilize it. They're going to be less effective. So by kind of making sure that technology is integrated into all these different roles, like you were saying, I mean, I think that's key for 2024, making sure that people are being as efficient as they can and working with technology synergistically, I guess, if that's a word. And yeah, and just kind of working one-on-one with the technology instead of fighting against the technology, or trying to do it their way. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
Jack,
I
you got
can't
a
tell
point?
you. Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I've worked with or I've seen teams um have some, I don't know, like a younger gun come into the conversation who's got very good technical acumen, and then they, they come in and they sort of disrupt things. It's like, this is very inefficient, and like instead of using Google Sheets, use some other productivity tool, right, where you can track your progress and your milestones and stuff, and you're not having to have a bunch of touch points with your technology. Like, I think that's a great point.
Yeah, no, I absolutely love that. It's all about bringing that extra perspective in, right? That different background and experience. So let's dive into that part of that strategic approach and immersion, the IT immersion into the business. You know, Tim Lucas's quote here, the CEO of Automox, I think nails it right on the head, where the alignment that IT is going to find with the business is by investing in a more leadership type approach, a thought leadership type approach, really taking another look at the business and not just managing people in their little spots and roles and, you know, telling them what to do, and just having them go and march, but leading and pushing the business towards a more technology focused direction. The way that I think I'd like to summarize it, but love to hear your opinion on breaking down his quote here, is that it's a focus on value, where business leaders are looking at how they're operating, the outcomes that they're trying to achieve, and saying, are we extracting the maximum amount of value in our effort? And you do some Googling online and you're trying to solve your problems, you'll find that there's probably a technology solution that can extract more value for you and what you're trying to do as a business unit. And so, yeah, as thought leaders and as leaders in your business, right, you can solve a lot of problems just boiling it down to focusing on value and bringing technology in to deliver it.
Definitely the old how can we add value question. It's how can we add it for our customers? How can we add it to our employees? I mean, I think that that's kind of what he's getting at. I mean, employees need a leader more than just a manager sometimes. So I mean, I think that he hit the nail on the head, like you said, with the IT executives who succeed will lead rather than simply manage. I think he did a good job with that quote. Jack, what do you think about that one?
I mean, it's very interesting the way things are evolving in our market today. Like, and not just the broader economy. Businesses are very sensitive about, you know, like if there is a very tantalizing value proposition that increases more very specifically, like I think the unit productivity per employee, right? Or makes them more generalized or better tools, right? That is going to be worth the investment. And I think people who lead, and especially people in IT, are very privy to these, and they bring these solutions to the table, and you know they implement them, and they increase the overall operational efficiency of their organization. And I think that's really great. You know, I mean, one of the examples is in engineering that we see recently is generative AI, you know, GitHub Copilot, things like that, being accepted in mass, and really enhancing productivity for engineers. Not only that, but just conversational generative AI, you know, like being able to talk to basically have a pair programmer at your site 24/7. It really helps because now you're not knocking on the person's door next to you, right?
Yeah.
You're not having to impose on other people's time in order to get understanding of something that might otherwise be institutional, not very clear to you, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, we
AI
made
never gets tired of answering your questions. So
yeah, there's way less guilt in asking it the dumb ones for sure. So, I mean, we made it this far without talking about AI. So, it was a great segue into the next quadrant here on our predictions for 2024. It's here,
yeah.
right? It's unavoidable. We're landing on it. And, you know, I think everyone has a general sense, but these numbers really did surprise me when, you know, our team did the research and put this into this deck for us where yeah, I mean, it's undeniable that AI is going to be adopted into our organizations. As much fear and concern IT security compliance people have about it, it's something that we're going to have to wrestle with. It's an exponential growth technology. It's another type of revolution that we're experiencing yet again, and it's something that we're going to have to adapt to.
Yeah, absolutely. And um, so I'll go, since it's my prediction, I'll go ahead and hop in on this one. But my prediction, kind of the core of it, is that AI is fundamentally changing the way we use the internet. I mean, it's revolutionized our workflows. I mean, even a lot of times we'll go to Chat GPT or Bard instead of looking up the answer on Google or something. And like we're getting better quality results by doing that. And I mean, it's just this fundamental change in how we're using technology. And I think one of the reasons that Chat GPT especially has been so successful is that it's immediately useful to anyone who uses. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a very low technical barrier to entry. You can hop in and like anyone out there can kind of see how useful it is real quick for whatever task they're wanting it to do.
Yeah, it's funny. Like I really like that point on how it's changing how we interact. I think back to how computers were introduced into the workforce for the first time, and the way that they had to do that successfully was okay, we're going to interact with technology, but we're going to do it in a way of digitizing the real world. So we still have files and
Yeah.
folders and directories, cabinets, right? Like the imagery and the icons was a way of digitizing our real world scenario so people could adapt to it and figure it out. And then all of us in IT, are familiar with the Google foo skills that we needed to figure out problems, and it was a skill to find the right solution
Yeah.
to your particular problem. And now, even then, with this new way that we interact with knowledge and information, it's evolved and shifted to where you don't really need the Google foo anymore, because now you
Yeah.
just follow what the AI says and says, well, that didn't work. And it goes, okay, try this. And that didn't work. All right, try that. And then eventually you figure it out.
Yeah.
So you don't need the Google foo anymore, which is just wild to think about.
Yeah, I mean, to almost to kind of, sorry to interrupt you there, Jack. I mean, it kind of goes into prompt engineering a little bit. Is the new Google foo is how we interact with these systems matters. So
Oh,
like,
that's all
yeah,
Jack right here. Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, I really think large language models, which is really what we're talking about. AI is a very broad term, right? We talk about,
Thank you. Yeah.
function approximators or, machine learning and deep learning, and all of these kind of fall under what we consider AI. But, what did we call AI 20 years ago? We called like Quake NPCs, AI or whatever, Quake bots.
yeah.
But like,
Doom guy.
yeah, right. Like, I mean, I think, large language models specifically, and what OpenAI is doing with GPT, the, you know, GPT architecture is like really revolutionizing, and it presents a paradigm shift for how we consume information, right? Like Google created a paradigm, or introduced a paradigm shift in how we seek out information, right? And I think LLMs like GPT-3, GPT-4, they present the same kind of thing. It's like, how do you get your information? And rather than having to create some kind of like query that hopefully gets you the right results of something that exists on the internet and that Google has crawled, you've got a data set that OpenAI has trained their model on, and you write a query that can be that has like context to it, and it has complexity and how you get that information. And basically, it's almost like you're talking to someone who's it's almost like you're having a conversation with another person that is just like has all the information you need. And I think,
Painfully overinformed.
yes, and it doesn't always, deliver. The technology is actually new, so and they've made exponential progress, and so
Yeah.
I think that's one of the big drivers for coming into 2024. You're going to see a lot from OpenAI. You're going to see a lot of integrators with OpenAI using their technology and using their API in ways that are going to be revolutionizing the way users interact with products.
I like I like your touch point on the data that it was trained on as well, because I think that transitions well to Jason Kikta's quote here, who's the head of our product and our CISO at Automox, where yeah, as we have to adopt AI across a lot of different functions, we are in a whole new space of managing the risk behind the implementation of AI, and in the legal sense, in the IP sense, in the governance and compliance sense, nobody knows what's going on. And there's an arm wrestle, there's a cold war happening in all the different realms. And us as IT people, as the operators, we have to find ways to listen, pay attention, learn, and then adapt whatever these new rules are, in a way that's ultimately responsible, so we don't trip over ourselves as we implement this kind of stuff. So yeah, I think kind of transitioning into the second point here, there's managing the risk, right? As the first point highlights, which is a whole new space for all of us to figure out. But bearing that risk in mind, we as IT people and technology leaders need to adopt a mentality of guidance and embracing this change and letting the business know that we are paying attention to this and we are on their side on leveraging it and extracting the value out of it. We're not diving straight in blindly like so many might want to, but we are going to guide and steward them through it in a cautious and mature way, which I think is something that I'm particularly proud of with Automox, in that yes, we're one of those companies that implemented AI fairly quickly, but per Jason Kikta's, direction and our leadership's direction here, we wanted to do it responsibly. We wanted to do it in a way that was valuable but proper. And that's where we really focused on covering the skill gap that AI is very good at right now. Which tees us into the demo of our auto AI product that Jack will walk us through here in a moment. Because yeah, like we talked on earlier, you can ask it a million questions. It never gets tired of answering. And if it gets it wrong, which, it often can, you just tell it where it messed up and then it'll fix itself and go from there. And, we've seen customers and even our team internally use the tool to solve for things that are beyond their reach. They thought they would have to go to a few more Python courses or shell script courses in order to figure it out. But with auto AI, it's far easier. So yeah, Jack, take it away.
Yeah, thanks, David. And just to speak to your earlier point, like when I was architecting Ask Auto, which is the product I'm about to show you, which is falls under our auto AI category. I'll go ahead and share my screen. The We really came at it from a place of caution, right? We really did think that although GPT is a great technology and OpenAI is probably a great, a good faith acting company, we have to approach it from the perspective of, your data is going out to a third party service, and as they mature, their expectations on security and things like that are changing and they become a very large target. And so I can tell you, when we developed this product, we came at it from a perspective of security and protection first. So gonna hop right into it. Ask Auto, right, in our product here at Automox actually helps you with the creation of something called worklets. And to understand Ask Auto's impact on your organization, we're gonna have to first understand a little bit about what worklets are. So if I pop into our policies page here, I can actually create a new policy, and I can create a worklet policy. And you see here, worklets can perform any scriptable action on device, configuration-based management, rollback of patches, removing unwanted applications. It's a really powerful tool, but it requires a little bit of technological acumen to actually fully master. And we found that this was a great spot in our product to introduce generative AI because of this, right? We find that a lot of customers are cross-platform of Automox, right? They have macOS devices and they have Windows endpoints. And, in order to grok and be able to create processes that automate some of the things that you want to do on those endpoints, you're gonna have to create a PowerShell script and a Bash script, and not everyone has a great understanding of, both. I find it's like some people are really good at Bash, obviously. I think a majority of people are familiar with Bash if they're in a sysadmin kind of position, but PowerShell is a little different. And PowerShell's got a really interesting API. And we're going to talk a little bit today about how Ask Auto can help you create some PowerShell scripts. So I'm going to create Jack's worklet policy for Windows. And we're going to scroll down and you'll see that we have actually two boxes here. We have evaluation code, which is basically saying, like, if you exit with a code of 0, then the device is compliant and it's good. If it exits with an exit code of 1, then we need to run the remediation code, right? This is good if you're trying to check to see if software is already installed and you're trying to install some software, see if something's already up to date, if you're trying to patch it, things like that. So in this case, I'm actually just going to exit 1 because we always want the remediation code to run, because this kind of code is actually going to give us some information about the endpoint. So we have Ask Auto. He's very enthusiastic here. He's very excited to give me some code here. So we pop into Ask Auto, and every time you open this prompt, you're going to be greeted with this, right? It's this, we're very transparent that this is an interface to ChatGPT. Don't put secrets in here. I mean, we have agreements in place with OpenAI to not train on our data, but OpenAI is kind of like a honeypot of all this information getting fed in their system. We don't want your information to be in a third-party system and then have them get breached, right? So, we also have to acknowledge that the code that's coming from them is from an LLM. And so you have to ensure that the code meets your expectations before you run it in mass, which is sort of part of the whole patch to test deploy pipeline, right? So, hi, Otto. Can you write me a Windows worklet to list the top 10 biggest files on the C drive. This is good if you're trying to if you know every endpoint is working with 250 gigabytes of space, and you have an endpoint in particular that's running out of space. You want to be able to list the top 10 biggest files and be able to help clean that up. And then you maybe write a worklet to even clean that data up, right? And so you can kind of see where it becomes kind of fruitful to get information about an endpoint, perform some kind of automation task on it. And while we wait for Ask Auto here, we found that large language models help a lot with being able to give you information that you would have had to go to the internet for, and have to go look up different PowerShell commandlets and things like that. It becomes very frustrating to have to switch context. Have to go from I'm going to write a script mode to, oh, now I'm in research mode. Now I'm back to script mode. Oh, this didn't work or whatever. And look at that. We've got some code here for us to review. And we can see that Auto over here will actually give us some steps about how to even run the script. So, window PowerShell worklet lists top 10 biggest files in the C drive to use the worklet. It even gives us the great, if you want to run the PowerShell script on the endpoint, locally, you can do that. But check it out. We can ask it some things about it. It'll tell us information about it. If, for example, that we wanted to say, can you change the limit to 20? Say if we wanted the top 20, it has a running context. So you can actually ask it questions about code it already wrote, and it'd be like, oh yeah, sure, I can go back and modify it. And this is where it becomes really powerful because it's like a collaborator. You actually can work with it to get the best desired outcome. And iteratively, it's not just a one-shot all solution sometimes, especially if the workflow is particularly complicated. And I think that's one of the really powerful points of, and we come down here, boom, look at that. It's basically the same code. It's actually identical minus the top file count, and you just come over here and delete it. We don't want to always override your code, so we just append it to the end, and we can save, we can create our policy. I'll run the policy manually, sure. We'll come back into our policy, and for every user that uses it, their context is saved. So you're actually going to be able to come back to this worklet in 6 months and be like, we kind of want to change it to be in a certain way. I'm not really good with PowerShell still. I need you to help me change it, and it'll help you do that. And that's Ask Auto.
Thank you, Jack. Yeah, I've definitely embraced the assistance that AI can truly bring. Hold on, let me get my screen share fixed here. Nice. All right. And so getting into the next quadrant here of our predictions, it's still that attention and focus on automations and integration. The pursuit of perfect automation is something that I think IT people have been chasing after. It's the magic dragon, right? But as we live in a dynamic world where businesses change all the time and the requirements change, keeping up with automation is extremely difficult. And with everything that IT teams have to adapt to, maintaining tools and solutions that we've already built is even harder. So I really like a lot of these quotes that we've got from our experts in here where, yeah, automation absolutely required to keep pace. As we are stretched to do more and adapt to all these changes going on, we need to implement automation that we can rely on, that's easy to update and change. And I love the particular call out on the integrations with this prediction where we have a lot of tools. There's more SaaS products out there than ever before. A lot of these tools solve very specific things, but what we need to do is get them integrated with each other so they can orchestrate and work together as a chorus in solving our kinds of problems. So do you guys have any thoughts or hot takes or any sort of way to dive into these quotes more?
I can tell you that security is one of the most growing importances of an organization. I can tell you a story about a friend of mine who is he works in a laboratory, and they have this thing called a LIMS system. And the LIMS system basically manages all their samples, documents them, and they were compromised, ransomware. all their data was encrypted. It's lost. They didn't have backups. There's no DR. There's no disaster recovery. Like from what he's telling me, it's not looking good, and they're investigating other LIMS providers. But like it is so important to fortify the security posture of your organization today, and bringing IT and where patching meets security is some of the most that is one of the most important parts. Patching is a very crucial part of that. Making sure people's software isn't vulnerable to ransomware attacks, isn't vulnerable to malware, is going to be so important the next year.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's to kind of some of the other points, like a tool becomes exponentially more powerful when it can work with other tools. So I mean, if it's like, okay, I have this amazing tool, but it just does everything by itself, and like you can't get data from other sources, can't push data to other sources. Like I think they become much more powerful, much more useful to the IT administrator when you can kind of go between tools seamlessly and kind of integrate those pretty well.
Yeah. I like Justin's take on it as well, where he's acknowledging, the economic environment and how that's forced a lot of companies to crunch and force even, a lot of companies that had automations figured out, had integrations built in. Now those tools are removed from their tech stack, and
Yeah,
they've had to reassess and reevaluate how they solve a wider range of problems with fewer tools. And my take on it is to draw a bit of attention to the maturity of your IT team, the maturity of your organization, right? In order to enable automation and just approach it at all, is to be able to recognize the processes, the procedures, define them, and then measure the effectiveness of those processes and procedures, and then apply technology to automate all of that. And to be in a state in your business through all this change while still being able to measure, define, measure, and then solve is a mountain of a problem. There's a few blog posts that we've made about how to dive deeper into automation, and we provide some information and resources to guide you through how to automate. So, if the word automation and integration gives you any bit of anxiety, there's information and resources out there. We're always open to that kind of conversation as well.
absolutely.
Yeah. So we kind of stumbled into this bit already, where I do like to call out the second point here of the vendor-enabled automations, and Landon, you touched on it, right? Where these tools integrating with each other are the most powerful ones, right? The one that can integrate with everything else you have is extremely powerful. And that's where, yeah, these vendors, it's up to us as SaaS providers to recognize, yeah, it's really good if Rapid7 and Automox work together. Jack, to your point of security and IT blending together, right? Like that's exactly it, where vendors need to recognize, and in 2024, they need to work together and collaborate to bring automation and integration to the customer.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just kind of balancing of core competencies also. I mean, Rapid7 is really good at detecting vulnerabilities, and we're really good at patching. And we both could make a solution that did the other, but it wouldn't be as good as the one that's already existing. So it's like, why not work with the solution that's already out there that's really good?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. The vulnerability detection space is like super it's not as easy as you think to go and like create something that an agent that runs on endpoints that scans for vulns and then databases them and gives you the ability, gives you how to fix them, but not the mechanism to fix them, right?
Yeah.
And I've had the pleasure of working on our product ABR here, so I don't want to jump the gun a little bit, but we identified this very early on that Rapid7 is great at what they do. Automox is great at what we do. So let's leverage customers' environment to have Rapid7 to do that. Let's reinforce that integration. Let's give you the most bang for your buck. Let's decrease the operational complexity of that whole process of security teams talking to IT teams.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. It's to kind of put it out into the broader sense, a lot of those security tools are criticized for telling you what's wrong, but not actually fixing anything for you. It requires a lot of investigation or a lot of, okay, now what, right? Is the
Yep.
ultimate question. And that's where we are very proud to have the answer to the now what question, which is, yeah, fix it. So that's the key off to Landon right there to give us a walkthrough of how you can fix those vulnerabilities in your environment.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll go ahead and share my screen here in a second. But so what we're going to show is kind of our automated vulnerability remediation feature, AVR, as it's much easier to say. So we have Rapid7. We work with them to kind of automate the integration into the AutoMox platform. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. And we'll show that to you. So we have that kind of built into our software right now. So if you go to manage, and then just this remediations section, you can go ahead and just click this get started on your Rapid7 partner integration. If you want to use a different platform, we also support importing CSV files and mapping those remediations, but this one integrates directly with Rapid7 right now. So we're going to click here and select the Rapid7 Insight VM. And then so we're going to just keep this simple and we'll call this the Rapid7 connection. And then this is the API key from Rapid7. It's in your Rapid7 console. And then we'll select US3. That's our region. Yours may be different. Double check that. And then we're going to go ahead and hit next. And then I'm going to move this. So we're going to enter a new name for our configuration. So this is what's going to show up in the AutoMox console. And we're going to call this one CVSS greater than 8. And we're going to set that as our vulnerability scope here in a second too. And then we're going to enter the Rapid7 asset tag. So what you can do in the Rapid7 console is tag all of your devices. So for instance, for this demo, actually, what we had a Rapid7 console that we were using just kind of for development. So there were hundreds of devices on there. When I was building this demo, I just wanted it to have a certain segment of those devices in there. So the ones that were connected to my AutoMox console. So we created a rule based by IP address that said, hey, if anything is in this IP address, give it the asset tag. And I asked for a different one, but they just gave me Landon. So everybody gets that asset tag now. So for this demo. So, and then we're going to set the vulnerability scope as CVSS greater than 8. For testing, this is the one that pulls the most vulnerabilities. So we're going to go with that one. And then we're going to go ahead and fetch the latest remediations. So it looks like it worked. We're going to click here to show kind of some more on this report. So there were over 6 devices. There was 108 CVEs. So let's look a little bit more into this report, see what's really going on. So we're going to click this view report button right here. And we're going to click on Rapid7 solutions. So this looks like this one solution will remediate 106 of the CVEs, which are on 3 devices. If we look at it, it looks like we just need to update them to the latest version of Google Chrome. So cool, that's easy. We can definitely do that. So we're going to click here to view the CVEs. It's a lot of them. And we're going to go ahead and remediate with a worklet. And we have this install Google Chrome worklet right here. Jack was talking a little bit about worklets. Also, we had this one set up to make sure that the most recent version of Google Chrome is installed. We're going to go ahead and click remediate. And it's going to say, hey, the remediation is in progress on those 3 endpoints that you were looking at. And then that's it. So it's remediating. Next time Rapid7 scans, it's going to say, hey, there's not those 106 vulnerabilities across 3 devices anymore. Your Google Chrome was updated. So that's kind of how that works. It pulls the information over, said, here's your problem. What do you want to do to fix it? We can fix that. We can install Chrome. We can make sure that's updated. So that's the Rapid7 integration. And with that, I'll pass that back over to you. I'll let you steal the screen back, David.
Yeah, I love the concept of AVR, man. I really do.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. It's pretty neat.
Oh, it absolutely is. Yeah, that pile of, hey, you need to fix this from the security team always gave me anxiety. And the fact that we can just make it so easy for our customers, I'm very proud of it.
David, how many 0 days do we have this year? You know,
Okay, on the spot, I do not know.
I think we've had like
Too many.
we've had too
So
many. I think it was a lot.
Yeah, far too
I
much.
think it's
Far
been a
too much.
notable year in security and SecOps.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, so bringing those categories out here, just kind of surfacing how we see 2024 weighing out. There's that heavy dominance of alignment, right? Just to recap that section where it's the thought leadership, it's technology people guiding the business forwards, diving in and immersing themselves in business operations, partnering and collaborating with the organization and how to navigate this technology revolution that we're going through. That is going to be the major focus of next year. And that's where if you follow us on our socials, follow our community, and keep an eye out for future Automox content. I'll give a shout out to our podcast that we're launching up in January. We have a lot of topics covering how IT security teams can adapt and evolve and push themselves into 2024. And then automations and integrations, right? What we just wrapped up here, where that's going to be another very important thing to stay focused on and continue to develop as you align yourself with the business. Start building out that foundation of automation. Start small, start simple, and build from there. And then, yep, AI, it's inevitable. It's a part of it. Use it to cover those gaps. There's things that you don't know. Use AI, embrace it, and approach it with a cautious mentality and a very practical mentality to make sure that you can steward your business forwards. All right, so we do have some questions that we want to cover. Um, we had our team look through these before, so I think they assigned some of us here. Landon, I think you're up first.
yeah, this looks like a good question too. And so the question is, can you just tell Auto to create a script to patch a particular CVE, giving the CVE number? So the answer is no for a couple reasons. The first reason is that I mean, GPT-3, GPT-4 have a knowledge cutoff date. And those CVEs are typically the ones that we'll be patching are the newer ones. If you're trying to patch a CVE from April of 2023 or earlier, or the GPT-3 cutoff date or earlier, that's a possibility, but hopefully you won't be having to patch those CVEs now. So we do offer worklets a lot of times to mitigate or patch CVEs by CVE number they're in our worklet catalog. But just giving that CVE number to Auto won't really give a good solution to patch that particular CVE.
Yeah. Jack, you got the next one.
Yeah, so we have a question here. Ask Auto is a great idea. You mentioned using the API, which implies the publicly available version is used, not one locally hosted. How are you ensuring that customers who depend on this feature won't lose access if something happens to the project? Okay, wow. I don't know. Calling OpenAI a project is kind of like, I mean, I'm sure they're raking the dough. I don't think they're going anywhere. But um, that's like famous last words, right? I can tell you
I'll
that.
see what happens to the CEO next week.
Oh,
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
yeah.
As long as it's not the week before Thanksgiving, he should be good to go.
The thing about like the Ask Auto, right, and Auto AI is I think when I went to architect it, I made it pretty resilient for this reason, right? There might be aspirations in the future of us hosting it locally if we find that the limitations around having that data leave our system is too great. So I can tell you that it's pretty low effort to try and go and like switch providers if we really need to. Like that's a worst case scenario. So I think that's a pretty good worst case scenario, but
Mhm.
um like like any integration, there are SLAs and all that jazz, and we're hoping that OpenAI doesn't go anywhere, but it's pretty generically implemented. We can go and use Llama if we wanted. We could use Bard if we wanted. If that API is exposed, like we can use it. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I got the next one, which is kind of calling us out on not talking about worklets enough, which I definitely think is an underrated part of our product. Where yeah, we so what the worklets catalog is with Automox is that it's a massive library that we are continuing to build and add towards. We have a dedicated team of engineers who are paying attention to our community. They are staying up to date with trends and things that are happening within our tech space, and they are shelling out very well produced shell scripts for Mac, Windows, and Linux to solve the problems that you are encountering every single day. And if there's anything in that catalog that you are looking for that you cannot find, let us know. That team wants to build that stuff for you. And
Or
so,
ask Otto. Just
yeah,
kidding.
right. And yeah, so we have a link in our resources that you can check out the Worklets catalog. We are covering a wide range of categories with the kinds of things that we're scripting. One area I would encourage you to look at is that of configuration and desired state configuration, where you say, I need this setting applied on Mac, Linux, and Windows. It just has to be done. We probably have a worklet for all three platforms that you can use in there. So we have a public website that you can use to browse, but if you really want to take a look at the code and test it for yourself, set up a trial, put it on your test box, and give it a whirl. Feel free to explore that. Okay, I'm going to keep talking because I got the next one as well, and yeah, sort of spoiled myself. We support Windows, Mac OS, and Linux. Okay, do we support third-party apps for patching, not just CVEs and OS? Yeah, absolutely. That was something we recognized quite a while ago. So we again have a dedicated team that is shelling out many third-party applications. I think the number is over 400 that we have right now, which we're very proud of. If there's any industry-specific applications like point of sale type stuff, or even some of the newer, fancier toys that you need to host in your environment, again, let us know. We are very much invested in supporting those more niche cases as well. Not just pumping the numbers up for fun. We really want to find the tools that you need to manage and put them into our product.
Hey,
Jack, you're up.
so David, real quick, where can people find all of these apps that we can patch?
Yeah, check out the resources. We got the links for you.
Yeah, man, we got the links, all right. Yeah, I'll actually dovetail on the last one. I'll say like we've actually done a lot of work with third party in the past year. We're really proud of our team that's been working on that and engineering. That's really awesome. We've actually just also rolled out, I think, severity data for more of our widely used third party applications, so you can patch by severity and all that jazz. But anyway, why would I use Auto AI instead of just another AI technology and enter that script when creating customized worklets? I mean, you can go for it, but you're not going to get the very customized user experience that we've created, we've manufactured for this part of the product in particular. We actually do surprisingly a lot under the hood to actually deliver this experience to you. And that's the magic of prompt engineering, right? Like we pre-inform the context with a ton of data, and we don't use PII or anything like that, but it's like we are really trying hard to deliver experience that is unique, that gives you very quick, you don't have to explain what worklets are if you want to talk about it in the context of worklets. You don't have to talk about it in the context of Automox or anything like that. Like we do provide you a lot of shortcuts in that regard. I think it does save you a lot of time, and not having to leave the console is also really good. And if you buy into the ecosystem, all the future updates that we push to Ask Auto, it's just gonna be that much better. You know what I mean? Like fine tuning. There's tons of stuff in the large language model world that we can do, and we've looked at doing that are gonna really enhance the experience. But
Besides,
that's the hard sell. Well done.
Also, Otto, pretty cool looking robot. So
yeah, who doesn't want to talk to Otto, man?
Yeah, it's a robot.
I love Otto.
He's the best. So
Landon,
it
you
looks
got
like
the last two.
yeah, it looks like there's a couple of questions here about Rapid 7 integrations that we'll go ahead and answer. So one of them, is it possible to configure the integration, the Rapid 7 integration, to run at a particular time of the day? So Rapid 7 is configured to run on a schedule of once per day. Is ran at 4 a.m. Mountain Time. So you can within the Automox console, you can run that schedule. You can run the scan as many times as you want, but until 4 a.m. Mountain Time, it's not going to change anything. So you could say, hey, pull this information, pull this information, pull this information, but it's going to still be that same information. You can trigger a manual scan within the Rapid7 console, but you can't do that from the AutoMox console.
Yeah. We looked at that, you know, we were like,
Yeah.
isn't it kind of like weird? But we were constrained by the fact that, okay, Rapid7 needs to run a scan. And I don't think people want to be scanning their environments all the time because of
Yeah.
how like resource intensive that is for the users and how it could impact the user endpoint. But yeah, like we figured that like in the middle at the very beginning of the day, like if the scan had run sometimes in the night, which a lot of customers do, right? Um, like you'll get that updated information. Like it all depends on the information being in Rapid7,
Mhm.
right? That's because we're just creating that data.
Yeah. So hopefully, after the first few days, you won't have as much on your to-do list after pulling all those vulnerabilities in. So, uh, then let's see, how frequently does Rapid7 scan its endpoints? So it says, in case I want to see my AutoMox actions update Rapid7 reporting. Yeah, so within Rapid7, it scans every 6 hours, or you can select run validation scan for more immediate results. I mean, again, this is kind of the difference. So I mean, you can go into the Rapid7 console and have it behave a certain way that you want it to. You can say, hey, scan now, and then you can pull that data over. But from the AutoMox console, the way it's set up to run is just pull that data every day at 4 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, that does it for questions. So thank you all for attending. If you made it all the way to the end, we appreciate you. Thank you for hanging out with us.
Congratulations. So
Yeah. And thank you to AWS Insider for hosting us. Before I tee it back to them, I do want to remind you that we have quite a few links for you in the resources section. Please take a look at the worklets catalogs, a big shout out there, our trial, and definitely meander your way into our community. Go ahead and create an account and ask us questions in there. We are always eyes
yeah,
on and happy to help. So thank you,
absolutely.
Landon. Thank you, Jack.